Ambassador Elena Reeves stood before the Galactic Council chamber, with her hands clasped behind her back, and her expression carved from stone. The amphitheater stretched upward in concentric rings, where representatives from 400 species observed the proceedings with varying degrees of interest. Most had already decided this session would be another round of human complaints that would lead nowhere. Elena had attended 53 council sessions in her 4 years as Earth's primary representative. She had filed 217 formal grievances. She had presented evidence of treaty violations, territorial incursions, and what could only be described as deliberate provocations. Each time the council had offered sympathetic words and promised investigations that never materialized. Today would be different. The Zorkal delegation sat in their assigned section, with their crested heads held high, and their scaled hands resting casually on the armrests of their seats. They were apex predators from a high-gravity world, and they had built an empire on the assumption that strength was the only currency that mattered. Their ambassador, a scarred veteran named Krathzon, watched Elena with barely concealed amusement. Chancellor Vornix of the Centauri Collective called the session to order with 3 chimes. The insectoid chancellor's translator rendered his clicking speech into standard galactic. Ambassador Reeves, you have requested emergency session privileges. State your purpose. Elena stepped forward into the speaker's circle. A holographic display materialized above her, showing the wreckage of what had been Research Station Galileo. Twisted metal floated in the void. Escape pods drifted among the debris. Some were empty, others were not. 17 days ago, Research Station Galileo suffered what the Zorkal Empire has termed a navigational accident. Elena's voice carried clearly through the chamber. Their military vessel allegedly experienced drive failure and collided with our civilian research facility. This facility housed 247 humans. 83 were scientists. 112 were support staff. 52 were children. The hologram zoomed in on one of the escape pods. Inside, a small form floated motionless. Elena did not look away from the council. The Zorkal vessel regained drive function 17 seconds after the collision, she continued. It departed the area without rendering aid, without attempting rescue, without acknowledging the incident. Krathzon rose from his seat. The Zorkal Empire extends regrets for this unfortunate accident. We have already offered compensation according to standard protocols. Compensation? Elena's tone could have frozen nitrogen. You offer compensation for the 41 children who died waiting for rescue that never came? Regrettable, but accidents occur in space. Krathzon spread his hands in a gesture meant to convey helplessness. Surely the ambassador understands that. This was not an accident. Elena activated another hologram. This is the navigation data from the Zorkal vessel. Course corrections here, here, and here. Deliberate approach vector. Weapons charged but not fired because you wanted it to look like an accident. You wanted deniability. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The evidence was damning, but not definitive enough to force council action. Everyone knew it. The Zorkal knew it. Elena knew it. Chancellor Vornix's antenna twitched. Ambassador Reeves, while your evidence is concerning, it does not constitute absolute proof of deliberate action. The council cannot. I am not here to ask the council for action, Elena interrupted. The murmur stopped. Interrupting the Chancellor was a serious breach of protocol. I am here to inform the Council of Earth's position. She turned slowly, making eye contact with as many delegations as possible. Her expression never changed. Her voice never rose. When she spoke, every word landed with the weight of a falling moon. For 4 years, Earth has followed every protocol. We have filed every form. We have presented evidence in good faith. We have accepted your promises of investigation and your expressions of concern. We have been patient because we believed in the ideals this council claims to represent. Elena paused. The silence in the chamber was absolute. That patience has limits. Research Station Galileo represents the 6th incident in 8 months. Each time the Zorkal Empire has offered the same excuses. Each time this council has accepted them. Earth will not. Kratzon's crest flared in what Elena had learned was a Zorkal expression of contempt. Is the human threatening the Zorkal Empire? Your species has barely left your home system. You possess no significant military force. You have no allies willing to— I am not threatening anyone. Elena's interruption was quiet, but it cut through Kratzon's words like a laser through atmosphere. I am issuing a warning. One warning. Final and absolute. She looked directly at the Zorkal delegation. Any further hostile action against Earth's citizens or territories will be met with immediate and proportional response. There will be no more diplomatic protests, no more evidence presentations, no more appeals to this council. We have exhausted those options. They have proven ineffective. Kratzon began. We can, Elena said, and we will. This is not a negotiation. This is not a discussion. This is a statement of fact. Cross the line and face the repercussions. Chancellor Vornix's translator carried a note of concern. Ambassador Reeves, you must understand that unilateral military action would violate. Self-defense is not a violation of any treaty Earth has signed. Elena pulled up the relevant documents. Article 12, Section 7. Any member species retains the right to defend its citizens when council mechanisms prove inadequate. I am formally invoking that article and notifying the council that Earth considers itself in a state of justified self-defense posture. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. The Chancellor chimed repeatedly for order. Through it all, Elena stood motionless in the speaker's circle. Her eyes never left the Zorkal delegation. Kratzon finally stood again, his voice cutting through the chaos. The human makes empty threats. Earth possesses no fleet capable of challenging Zorkal military might. This is posturing from a species that knows only words. Elena smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. You are welcome to test that assumption, she said softly. In fact, I encourage it. The Zorkal Empire has operated under certain beliefs about humanity for years. You believe we are weak because we prefer diplomacy. You believe we are helpless because we have not responded with violence. You believe our warnings are empty because you cannot imagine we possess the capability or the will to enforce them. She deactivated the holograms and gathered her materials. Continue believing that if you wish. Elena turned toward the exit. But you have been warned. What happens next is your choice. She walked out of the council chamber without waiting for dismissal. Behind her, the debate raged on. Delegates demanded clarification. The Chancellor called for motions and countermotions. The Zorkal delegation laughed among themselves, convinced they had just witnessed the impotent rage of a species that could do nothing but talk. 3 days later, a Zorkal patrol encountered a human vessel at the edge of the disputed Kepler sector. The patrol commander ordered the human ship to submit to inspection. The human captain politely declined and continued on their course. The Zorkal commander armed weapons. The human vessel vanished in a shimmer of displaced space, reappearing 3 light minutes away. It jumped again before the Zorkal could track it, and again, and again. The patrol commander filed a report noting that human vessel performance exceeded all previous intelligence estimates by a factor of 12. The agricultural world of New Canaan rotated peacefully below its yellow sun, its surface covered in carefully managed crop zones that fed 17 human colonies and provided surplus for trade with other species. 8,000 humans called New Canaan home, mostly farming families who had volunteered for the frontier life. They grew grain and vegetables in soil carefully enriched over 3 generations. Children played in fields that their grandparents had first planted. Administrator Chen Wei watched the crops from his office window and tried not to think about the council session reports he had received. Ambassador Reeves had issued Earth's warning 6 days ago. The Galactic Council had formally rejected Earth's invocation of self-defense status. The Zorkal Empire had filed a counter-complaint accusing humanity of threatening behavior. Everything was proceeding exactly as expected, which meant Earth was now completely alone. Chen's communications officer rushed into his office without knocking. "Sir, we have inbound vessels, Zorkal signatures, military classification." Chen felt his stomach drop. "How many?" 3 cruisers, they're not responding to hails. Sound the alarm. Get everyone to shelters, now." The evacuation protocols had been drilled into every colonist from their first day on New Canaan. Families dropped what they were doing and ran for the reinforced bunkers scattered across the farming zones. Chen watched through the window as the 3 Zorkal ships entered orbit, their weapons clearly visible against the stars. His console beeped. Someone from the lead ship was finally responding. Commander Zektar's face appeared on screen, his crest fully extended in aggressive display. "Human Administrator, your world is in violation of territorial boundaries claimed by the Zorkal Empire. You will evacuate within 10 cycles or face forcible removal." Shen kept his voice steady. "New Canaan is registered territory under the Homestead Act of 2023. We have full legal claim recognized by the Galactic Council. You have no authority here." "The Council's authority means nothing," Zektar showed his teeth. "Your ambassador made threats. We respond by taking what should have been ours from the beginning. Be grateful we are giving you time to leave." The transmission cut off. Chen immediately contacted Earth Command, knowing his message would take 17 minutes to reach home, and another 17 for any response. Meanwhile, the Zorkal ships were moving into bombardment positions. 33 minutes later, Chen received his answer. It was not from Earth Command. It was from the ZNS Retribution, a human naval vessel that had somehow appeared in orbit, on the opposite side of New Canaan, from the Zorkal ships. Chen had not seen it arrive. His sensors had not detected its approach. It was simply there, as if it had stepped out of empty space. "Administrator Chen, this is Captain Sarah Okonkwo of the Retribution. Please confirm all civilians are in shelters." Chen checked his boards. "Confirmed. All civilians secured." "Acknowledged. Maintain shelter status. We'll handle this." The Retribution was not a large ship by military standards. It was perhaps half the size of a single Zorkal cruiser. Chen watched his tactical display as it moved with impossible grace, positioning itself between New Canaan and the approaching enemy vessels. Commander Zektar opened a channel to the Retribution. "Human vessel, withdraw immediately, or be destroyed. You are outnumbered and outgunned." Captain Okonkwo's voice came back calm and professional. "Zorkal vessels, you are in violation of Earth territorial space. Withdraw immediately, or face defensive action. This is your only warning." Zektar's laughter echoed through the channel. "1 human ship against 3 Zorkal cruisers? Your ambassador's threats were as empty as we suspected. Fire at will." The 3 Zorkal cruisers opened fire simultaneously. Plasma bolts and kinetic rounds converged on the Retribution's position. The human ship was not there. Chen blinked at his display. The Retribution had moved 3,000 kilometers in the span of a heartbeat. The Zorkal fire struck empty space and dissipated harmlessly. "Second warning," Captain Okonkwo said. "Withdraw, or we will disable your vessels." "Disable us?" Zektar sounded genuinely amused. "With what weapons?" "I see no." The Retribution fired once. A lance of coherent energy struck the lead Zorkal cruiser's engine section with surgical precision. The cruiser's drives went dark instantly. Life support remained active, weapon systems offline. The ship was dead in space, but the crew was unharmed. Chen stared. The Retribution had taken out a capital ship with a single shot. What was that? Zektar's amusement had evaporated. What kind of weapon? The Retribution fired twice more. The remaining two cruisers went dark within seconds of each other. 3 Zorkal warships floated powerless in orbit above New Canaan. Not destroyed, not burning, simply neutralized. Captain Okonkwo's voice remained calm. Zorkal vessels, you have experienced Earth's defensive capabilities. Your crews are unharmed. Your ships can be repaired. Consider this mercy and be grateful for it. Silence stretched across the communication channels. You will remain in position until retrieval vessels arrive, Okonkwo continued. Any attempt to restart weapons or engines will result in complete ship destruction. Unlike your attack on Research Station Galileo, we are choosing not to leave you helpless without rescue. Emergency supplies are being transmitted to your life support systems now. Chen watched as the Retribution deployed small cargo pods toward each disabled cruiser. Food, water, medical supplies, and repair materials. This engagement will be reported to the Galactic Council, Captain Okonkwo said. Ambassador Reeves issued a clear warning. You chose to ignore it. These are the repercussions. Next time, we will not show mercy. The Retribution vanished from Chen's sensors as suddenly as it had appeared. One moment it was there, the next it was simply gone. Chen sat in his office, staring at the tactical display showing 3 dead Zorkal cruisers, and the cargo pods drifting toward them. His communications officer spoke quietly. Sir, what just happened? Earth kept its promise, Chen said. The news spread through the galaxy at the speed of Ansible transmission. The Zorkal Empire immediately claimed the entire incident was fabricated. Then, sensor logs from passing merchant vessels confirmed the story. 3 Zorkal military cruisers disabled by a single human ship. No casualties. Precision strikes. Humanitarian aid provided to the defeated enemy. The Galactic Council called another emergency session. Ambassador Reeves attended and presented complete tactical logs of the engagement. She spoke for exactly 3 minutes. Earth issued a warning. The warning was ignored. We responded with precisely the level of force necessary to protect our citizens and disable the threat. We did not pursue fleeing vessels. We did not fire on escape pods. We did not leave enemy crews to die in space. We defended ourselves, and then we stopped. She looked directly at the Zorkal delegation. This was mercy, Elena said quietly. This was restraint. This was us showing you that our warnings are not empty. We possess both the capability and the will to enforce our boundaries. We prefer peace. We will always choose diplomacy first. But we will not allow our people to be murdered while filing paperwork. She gathered her materials. The question now is whether the Zorkal Empire has learned from this experience. Elena walked toward the exit. Or whether they need additional lessons in the consequences of crossing clearly established lines. Behind her, the council chamber erupted into debate. But across the galaxy, in the command centers of a dozen aggressive species, military analysts were reviewing the tactical data from New Canaan. And they were quietly recommending their governments reconsider any plans that involved testing Earth's patience. The civilian transport Bright Hope carried 472 passengers on its weekly run between the human colony worlds of New Canaan and Prosperity Station. Most were families traveling to visit relatives. Some were merchants moving goods. 38 were children under the age of 12, traveling with their parents or guardians. Captain Marcus Webb had run this route for 6 years without incident. The ship was not armed beyond basic defensive screens. It was not fast, It was simply a reliable transport that moved people and cargo on a predictable schedule. Marcus liked the routine. He liked knowing his passengers by name. He especially liked seeing the children's faces light up when they looked out the viewports at the stars. Today Marcus felt uneasy in a way he could not quite define. The incident at New Canaan had occurred 17 days ago. Earth had demonstrated capabilities that shocked the galaxy. The Zorkal Empire had responded by withdrawing from several disputed territories and issuing carefully worded statements about reviewing their territorial policies. Everyone thought the crisis was over. Marcus checked his sensors for the 15th time in an hour. Empty space, nothing unusual. He was 3 hours from Prosperity Station, and everything was proceeding normally. Then his sensors screamed warnings. 5 Zorkal warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, directly in the Bright Hope's path. Not cruisers this time, battleships, capital vessels designed for system-wide dominance. They formed a perfect intercept pattern that gave Marcus no room to maneuver. His communications officer looked at him with wide eyes. "Captain, they're hailing us." Marcus accepted the transmission. A Zorkal admiral appeared on screen, his crest decorated with battle honors, and his eyes gleaming with something that looked like madness. "Human transport, you will cut your engines, and prepare to be boarded." Admiral Kreshvor's voice carried absolute authority. "Your vessel will be seized as recompense for the humiliation Earth inflicted upon the Zorkal Empire at New Canaan. Your passengers will be detained as leverage for future negotiations." Marcus felt his blood run cold. "Admiral, this is a civilian vessel. We're not military. We have families aboard, children." "We know," Kreshvor smiled. "Your government values its young ones. They will learn that attacking Zorkal vessels carries consequences beyond military engagement." "Admiral, please," Marcus began. "Cut your engines now, or we will disable them for you." Kreshvor cut the transmission. His communications officer was already sending emergency distress calls on all frequencies. His navigator was running calculations for an escape jump, but they both knew the Bright Hope was not fast enough to outrun battleships. "Get everyone to the emergency pods," Marcus ordered. "If they board us, at least the pods might—" "Captain," his sensor officer interrupted. "New contact. Human signature. It's—" He stopped, staring at his display. "Captain, it's an entire battle group." Marcus looked at the tactical display and felt his breath catch. 12 human warships had just appeared in perfect formation between the Bright Hope and the Zorkal vessels. Not small ships like the Retribution. These were capital ships, dreadnoughts, carriers, ships that should not exist because Earth supposedly had no significant military fleet. The lead vessel identified itself as the ENS Covenant. Its commander opened a channel to both the Bright Hope and the Zorkal fleet. "This is Admiral James Chen of the Earth Naval Service." His voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "Zorkal vessels, you have threatened the civilian transport in clear violation of every treaty and convention governing galactic conduct. You have 30 seconds to withdraw, or you will be destroyed." Admiral Kreshvor's response came immediately. "You think we fear human threats? You disabled 3 cruisers. We have brought 5 battleships. You are outnumbered." "You are outmatched," Admiral Chen corrected. "And you are out of time. 20 seconds. "We will not," Kreshvor began. The Zorkal flagship's weapons suddenly went dark. Then its shields, then its engines. The massive battleship went from full combat readiness to complete powerlessness in less than 2 seconds. The other 4 Zorkal vessels immediately opened fire on the human fleet. What happened next would be analyzed by military strategists for decades. The human ships did not move. They did not dodge. Their shields simply absorbed the incoming fire, as if it were rain falling on stone. Then they returned fire with weapons that made the Zorkal arsenal look like children's toys. 4 Zorkal battleships were disabled in under a minute. Not destroyed, not burning with atmosphere venting and crews dying, simply shut down with the same surgical precision demonstrated at New Canaan, but on a massively larger scale. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the silence. Zorkal fleet, your vessels are disabled. Your crews are alive. That state of affairs can change very quickly if you do not listen carefully to what I am about to say. Marcus watched his display, showing 5 massive Zorkal warships floating dead in space, while 12 human vessels maintained perfect formation. You came here to take hostages, Admiral Chen continued. You specifically targeted a transport carrying children because you believed Earth would capitulate rather than risk their lives. You made a catastrophic error in judgment. The transmission shifted to include the Galactic Council's emergency frequency. Chen was broadcasting to the entire galaxy. Let me be absolutely clear to every species listening to this transmission, Chen said. Earth issued a warning at New Canaan. We demonstrated restraint. We showed mercy. The Zorkal Empire has now crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. They have deliberately targeted our children. Marcus saw movement on his sensors. More human ships were arriving. Dozens of them. They formed a sphere around the disabled Zorkal vessels. The Zorkal Empire's military capacity is hereby suspended. Admiral Chen's voice had gone cold. Every Zorkal military installation, every shipyard, every weapons platform, and every battleship is being disabled as I speak. We are not destroying them. We are not killing their crews. But the Zorkal Empire's ability to project military force has ended. On Marcus's display, priority messages started flooding in from across known space. Human fleets had appeared at every major Zorkal military installation simultaneously. The entire empire was being systematically dismantled with the same precision shown at New Canaan, but on a civilization-wide scale. Let me be clear, Chen continued. Zorkal civilians are not being harmed. Their worlds are not being invaded. Their people are not being threatened. But their military is done. This is not conquest. This is consequences. Admiral Kreshvor's voice came through, shaking with rage and something that might have been fear. You cannot do this. The Council will... The Council had its chance, Chen interrupted. Earth followed every protocol. We presented evidence. We issued warnings. We gave the Zorkal Empire every opportunity to choose peace. You responded by trying to kidnap our children. These are the repercussions. Marcus felt someone touch his arm. His daughter Anna had come up to the bridge, despite the emergency. She was 9 years old, and she was staring at the tactical display with wide eyes. Daddy, are those ships protecting us? She asked. Marcus pulled her close. Yes, sweetheart. They're protecting us. Why did those other ships want to hurt us? Marcus did not have an answer for that. But Admiral Chen's voice provided one. The Zorkal Empire believed that strength was the only language worth speaking. They believed that patience was weakness. They believed that mercy was an invitation for exploitation. They have now learned that humanity speaks the language of strength fluently when we must. But unlike the Zorkal, we also speak the languages of mercy, restraint, and measured response. The transmission ended. The human fleet began moving the disabled Zorkal vessels toward designated recovery zones where Zorkal rescue ships could retrieve their crews. Marcus received a direct communication from the Covenant. Captain Webb, you and your passengers are safe to continue to Prosperity Station. A young officer appeared on screen. We apologize for the delay and the distress this incident caused. Earth guarantees safe passage. Thank you, Marcus managed. No thanks necessary, sir. The officer smiled. Protecting our people is not optional. It is absolute. The human fleet vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving only a small escort to guide the Bright Hope to its destination. Marcus sat in his command chair, with his daughter in his arms, and tried to process what had just happened. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Every species with voting rights had sent their senior diplomats. Non-voting observers packed the upper galleries. The Ansible networks carried the proceedings live to 400 worlds across known space. Everyone wanted to see what would happen when humanity explained its actions. Ambassador Elena Reeves walked to the speaker's circle with the same measured pace she always used. She carried no notes. She needed none. Behind her, Admiral James Chen stood in full dress uniform, his hands clasped behind his back, and his expression revealing nothing. Chancellor Vornix began the session with unusual formality. Ambassador Reeves, in the 17 days since the incident at Bright Hope, Earth has systematically disabled every military asset belonging to the Zorkal Empire. 347 vessels, 112 installations, 17 orbital platforms, all rendered inoperable. The Council demands an explanation. Elena looked up at the assembled delegations. The explanation is simple. We warned you. You ignored the warning. The Zorkal Empire crossed the line. They faced the repercussions. You have crippled an entire civilization's defensive capacity. The Vrelnian ambassador stood, his crystalline structure resonating with agitation. You have violated every principle of proportional response. Proportional response? Elena's voice remained calm, but something dangerous flickered in her eyes. The Zorkal Empire attempted to kidnap 472 civilians, including 38 children, for use as hostages. Please explain what proportional response to that looks like. Silence fell across the chamber. We could have destroyed every Zorkal vessel. Admiral Chen spoke for the first time. We could have bombarded their military installations from orbit. We could have pursued their fleets as they fled and eliminated them completely. We did none of those things. He activated a holographic display showing the status of Zorkal military assets. Every ship, every station, every platform, all disabled but intact. All crews alive, all receiving humanitarian supplies from human vessels. Every Zorkal military facility was given 30 minutes warning before we acted, Chen continued. Every crew was ordered to evacuate to safe zones. Every installation was disabled with precision strikes that avoided casualties. We have suffered 0 Zorkal deaths in this entire operation, despite disabling an empire's entire military structure. You have still committed an act of war, the Chancellor insisted. We have committed an act of self-defense, Elena corrected. The Zorkal Empire has attacked human vessels and territories 7 times in 9 months. They have killed 163 humans, including 41 children. They have ignored diplomatic protests, dismissed evidence, and laughed at warnings. When we finally responded with force, they escalated by targeting a civilian transport for hostage-taking. She pulled up the relevant treaties and protocols. Article 12, Section 7 of the Galactic Accord allows member species to defend themselves when Council mechanisms prove inadequate. We invoked that article 18 days ago. The Council rejected our invocation. The Zorkal Empire then immediately proved why we needed it by attempting to kidnap our children. So yes, we acted, and we will continue to act to protect our people. A small delegation stood in the upper gallery. Elena noticed them because they were Zorkal civilians, not military personnel. The speaker was a female named Sharkess, who had requested observer status for this session. May I speak? Sharkess asked. The Chancellor looked uncertain, but nodded. You may. Sharkess descended to the floor level, her movements careful and non-threatening. I am Sharkess of the colony world Zormel. My family and I were aboard a transport traveling from our homeworld to a trade station when the humans arrived to disable our military vessels. We were frightened. We expected violence. She looked at Elena. Instead, human ships escorted our transport away from the combat zone, Sharkess continued. They provided us with supplies and safe passage. When my child asked a human officer why they were being kind to us, she said that Zorkal civilians had done nothing wrong, and that children should never suffer for the mistakes of their leaders. Murmurs spread through the chamber. My government told us humans were weak, Sharkess said. They told us humans would crumble under pressure. They told us human threats were empty. My government lied. Humans are not weak. They are patient. They are merciful. But they are not helpless. She turned to address the full council. The humans disabled our military without killing a single Zorkal, she continued. They provided food, water, and medical supplies to every crew. They escorted civilian vessels to safety. They established humanitarian stations for displaced families. They demonstrated more concern for Zorkal lives than our own military showed for human children. Sharkess looked at the Chancellor. My people have suffered under aggressive leadership for 3 generations. Our military has provoked conflicts we could not win. They have made enemies we did not need. And when humans finally responded to repeated attacks, they did so with precision that protected us even while dismantling our ability to harm others. She bowed to Elena. On behalf of Zorkal civilians who are tired of fear and aggression, I thank Earth for showing restraint. I thank Earth for protecting innocence. And I ask that the Council recognize that Earth's actions have saved more Zorkal lives than they have endangered. The chamber erupted in debate. Some delegations called for sanctions against Earth. Others pointed out that humanity had followed the letter of galactic law. Still others noted that the Zorkal Empire had been repeatedly warned through proper channels. Elena waited for the noise to die down. The Zorkal Empire's military capacity will remain suspended until we receive guarantees that aggression against human territories has permanently ceased, she said quietly. We will continue to provide humanitarian support to Zorkal civilians. We will assist with reconstruction of non-military infrastructure. But the warships stay disabled. The weapons platforms stay offline. Those are our terms. You cannot dictate terms to the Council, the Vrelnian ambassador protested. I am not dictating terms to the Council, Elena replied. I am explaining Earth's position. The Council is welcome to condemn our actions. You are welcome to impose sanctions. You are welcome to vote us out of membership entirely. But you will not tell us we cannot defend our children. Admiral Chen stepped forward. Every species in this chamber has the same right to self-defense that Earth exercised. If the Council wants to discuss proportionality, we can do that. But let us be honest about what proportional would actually mean. He changed the holographic display to show comparative data. The Zorkal Empire killed 163 humans over 9 months, Chen said. If Earth had responded proportionally using their logic, we would have killed 163 Zorkal. Instead, we have killed 0. The Zorkal destroyed 1 research station and attempted to seize 1 civilian transport. If we had responded proportionally, we would have destroyed Zorkal civilian infrastructure. Instead, we targeted only military assets and protected civilians throughout the operation. He looked around the chamber. Earth's response was not proportional, Chen admitted. It was magnitudes more restrained than proportionality would suggest. We demonstrated capabilities far beyond what anyone suspected we possessed, and we used those capabilities with precision and mercy. If that troubles this Council, perhaps the problem is not with Earth's actions, but with the Council's failure to prevent the situation that required them. The debate continued for 6 hours. Delegations proposed motions and countermotions. Some species called for Earth to be censured. Others pointed out that censuring the only species willing to enforce meaningful consequences for aggression sent exactly the wrong message. Finally, the Chancellor called for a vote on a resolution condemning Earth's actions. It failed by a significant margin. Too many species had watched the Zorkal Empire bully smaller neighbors for years. Too many remembered filing complaints that went nowhere. Too many recognized that Earth had simply done what the Council should have done long ago. Elena left the chamber without ceremony. Outside, a message was waiting from Chen Wei, the administrator of New Canaan. "Ambassador," he said, "I thought you should know. The Zorkal vessel commander who attacked us has requested permission to visit our world. He wants to apologize in person to the families. I have no idea what to tell him." Elena composed a response. "Tell him he is welcome to come. Tell him Earth accepts apologies when they are genuine. Tell him we prefer former enemies to become future friends." She sent the message and then stood looking at the council building, with its grand architecture and its proud declarations about peace and justice and cooperation. All beautiful ideals, all requiring someone willing to enforce them when words failed. Earth had not wanted that role, but Earth would fulfill it nonetheless. Because some lines, once crossed, demanded more than diplomatic protests and formal complaints. 4 months after the Bright Hope incident, Ambassador Elena Reeves sat in her office reviewing reports from across the galaxy. The data painted an unexpected picture of the aftermath of Earth's actions. 17 ongoing territorial disputes had been resolved through negotiation in the past 3 months. Species that had been on the brink of military conflict suddenly discovered that diplomatic solutions looked much more attractive. The Vrilnian Assembly and the Carthian Coalition had settled a border disagreement that had lasted 40 years. They signed the treaty aboard a human vessel at the insistence of both governments. Admiral Chen entered her office without knocking. He had taken to doing that, and Elena had stopped objecting. They had been through too much for formality. "You should see this." Chen activated a holographic display. The Targosian Empire just withdrew forces from the Helix sector. Complete withdrawal. No demands. No conditions. They just left. "The Targosians have occupied Helix for 12 years, Elena said. "Why now?" "Their military command issued a statement." Chen pulled up the text. "They cite changing galactic dynamics and a desire to focus on internal development. Reading between the lines, they are acknowledging that aggressive expansion is no longer a viable strategy." Elena smiled slightly, because someone might actually respond. "Exactly." Chen sat down across from her. "We have incident reports from 8 sectors, where aggressive posturing stopped the moment human vessels appeared in the region. Not shooting, not threatening, just being present. Species are choosing to negotiate rather than test whether we will intervene."